Hello YouTube, it's Sarah. Sorry for the long hiatus. Today I am doing my October wrap-up. I managed to read 9 books! Woohoo! Thank you, Dewey's Readathon. I'm sure that helped, even just a little bit. I did not cut my Goodreads reading goal down by 9 books, however, because one of these was a reread. Yeah. The first book I finished was, drumroll please, Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I have finally started the Lunar Chronicles cycles. I loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I borrowed an audiobook from my library. I don't remember now if it was from Hoopla or Overdrive. I think it was Overdrive that my library had this one through, so I did that. The second book I finished was Death Note Volume 4. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. This book is a manga. It's got awesome pictures. The story follows Light, who is a teenager, high school student when the story starts. He finds a notebook that actually belongs to a Shinigami. And the Shinigami explains that any name written in the notebook, basically that person dies. So he starts killing all these criminals, and the deaths have become mysterious in that the police start investigating on a global scale, figure out that it's being done by this person in Japan, and they're starting to narrow things down, and so yeah, the story's getting good. So Death Note Volume 4, I finished it. Check it out. The next book I finished was another audiobook checked out from my library, this time using Hoopla. Hoopla Digital. Don't go to hoopla.com because that's something totally different. The third book I finished was The Fairy Prince by Rachel Morgan. This is getting interesting. I don't really want to get into too much of the story. If you haven't read the first book. So I'm just gonna say check it out. The fourth book I read was This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This was another audiobook that I checked out from my library via Overdrive, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was very about as Halloween-y as I will get because I do not like horror. I am very easily scared. I am very easily grossed out, especially when it's a book. For some reason, I'm okay when it's on the television. I can watch NCIS and CSI and all those shows all day long, but put that in a book, make me picture it in my head, and for some reason, I will go no further when you get to those types of scenes. So This Savage Song was about as Halloween-y as I will get, with monsters and crazy people running amok. The next book was another audiobook, The Fairy War by Rachel Morgan. This is the third book in the Creepy Hollow series, and I got it from Hoopla Digital, again from my library. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I really enjoyed it, and I am still hooked on this series, but there are so many other books that I want to read. The fifth book I finished was Sarah's Game by Ernie Lindsay. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I don't even know what in the synopsis when I read it all those years ago and got it in my Audible. that made me think it was like Ready Player One. The only similarity is that there is a game. It is not a video game though. It is a game in real life where this lady must jump through these hoops that this crazy person sets up for her to try and rescue her children, because this crazy person has kidnapped all 3 of her kids from school. And there is a piece at the end that confuses me to this day, where I'm like, what happened to this other person that is merely mentioned but was supposed to be like guarding the place? So that was why 3 out of 5 stars. The next book was another audiobook. I've started yet another series, and that is Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. I listened to the audiobook and couldn't really stop listening to it, which is why I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I finished, second to last, was Death Note Volume 5. Shatter Me and Death Note, I think, were both part of Dewey's readathon. Those were the 2 books that I finished in Dewey's readathon, so since I already basically talked about the story when I mentioned the 4th book, I'm not really going to get into it. This is just the story continued. Volume 5. I have 1 book left in the Death Note series, and then it will be over, and I'm not sure I'm ready for it to be over, which is why I haven't really... Okay, it's one of the reasons why I haven't really started it. It is not the main reason why I haven't started it. Life is the main reason I haven't started the last book. The last book I finished in October. Due to things going on at work, I just needed to vent. And this particular book helps me vent without venting, if that makes any sense. Born of Shadows by Sherilyn Kenyon. This is the 4th book, 1, 2, 3, 4, in the League series by Sherilyn Kenyon. One of my favorite quotes from this book is one that I have been saying repetitively. Think it through, people! Think it through! And now I can't remember if that is the exact quote. It's said by Kaylin Dagan early on in the book, as they are in an escape pod not really trying, it was an accident that the button was hit, that they were ejected from this ship that they were supposed to be on. And yeah, an assassin comes by to try and kill him and the other person that he's trapped in this pod with, and there's no weapons. They have no control over steering. They cannot fly the pod. The pod cannot take evasive action if, say, somebody untrained is in the pod, no pilot kind of thing. Maybe autopilot kicks in and says, oh, there's somebody targeting me, I need to evade. So when relaying this to the person that he is trapped in the pod with, because this person has been secluded on their own little planet that doesn't really get involved in the other planet's business. So she doesn't realize what this thing is, which is why they didn't really mean to escape in the escape pod. She hit the little button kind of by chance. There they go. So in response to explaining it, and you know, she's sitting here like, well, that's stupid. Why would you not have weapons in an escape pod? Because if you're in the escape pod, you're trying to escape. The ship that you were on is probably under fire, and so these, you know, ships are gonna be shooting at the main ship and the escape pods that are escaping. And yet the escape pod has no way of defending itself. So, yes. It brings me to my favorite saying. See, I can't remember right But yeah, basically it's think it through, people. Think it through. So those were the 9 books that I read in October. How did you do in October? Did you hit your reading goals for October? Do you have any reading goals? I am looking forward to November and hopefully winning NaNoWriMo, so I probably won't have as many books to go through in the next month. But if you are not participating in NaNoWriMo, I hope that you have a wonderful reading time. And if you are participating in NaNoWriMo, I wish you the best of luck. And I will see you soon with a new video. TTFN!